Hi, today we are at my parents' because simply it's a place I keep most of my old computers because I live in Paris in a quite cramped apartment, so I need some space to stock most of my computers, and being at my parents afford me some space I can't have where I live truly. So again today we are going to dig into my attic and we are going to see a very interesting piece of equipment. It was released in the late 80s, 1988 I believe, and it's the grandfather of most of today's laptop computers. So it wasn't the first laptop at all. There had been some before, but they were not really truly PC compatible, and they lacked most of the time some really necessary peripherals or options. But this laptop specifically is the first one, to my knowledge, that embedded everything that was needed in a business configuration. So without further titillating my audience, let's see this computer. So, this computer was a Victor V86P. What you notice first when dealing with old expensive laptops, because this one was pretty expensive, is you were not conned out of your money. You had the computer itself, you had documentation in the form of books, you had the operating system and the number of diskettes required to restore your computer to factory settings, and you had a bag, and it was a very nice bag. So let's see what in that bag. In the pocket you got power brick, and when we say power brick we just mean it. This thing is huge. Compare with 3.5 inch diskette, for instance, and it's very huge. And then in the bag itself we have the laptop. As you can see from this angle, what made it useful in those days was a nice screen. It was not very good LCD, but it was, well, let's say, adequate. It was CGA, if I remember well, and it had an odd width by height ratio, but well, it did the job. It had the nicest keyboard you can expect from any computer. It's very close in feeling to the classic IBM M keyboard. It's springy, it's tactile, you got instant feedback, you know what you're typing. It's very nice. The only thing that's missing, but it's missing from most laptops even today, it's a separate numeric pad. Other than that, it's perfect. You've got a disk drive for diskettes of 720 kilobytes. So it's not the best, but it's sufficient again. For the younger people in the audience, think of it as an USB port for for USB key. You got a port to connect the numeric keypad I was speaking about, but it was not included in the package. This is not for a modem, this is the power plug that goes in that thing. At the back you had CRT, it's not VGA, it's CGA, so you've got CRT port, parallel port for a printer, and serial port for modem or mouse or whatever you want. And on the other side you've got another serial port to command whatever you want, again modem or specialist device, to whatever you wish. And you've got a bus access for a station, or well, I don't really know what was compatible, but you had access to the bus. This thing had on the other side a hard drive, 20 megabytes. So it's tiny, of course, by today's standards, but it's adequate. And it was powered by a battery, which I'm going to show you because I wouldn't dare installing it in the computer today, but I've kept it. So this was the kind of batteries that got inside, and it's nickel cadmium something, and it's 1800 milliampere per hour. So it's basically it's a tiny bit less than what powers this phone. And out of that you got, if you were lucky, about 2 hours of autonomy, if you were really lucky. So, it was fairly easy to carry. It was a bit heavy. Yeah, I think it's around 3 kilograms, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more, I can't remember. But to help you in this endeavor, you had some little detail, like a nicely recessed handle with which you can totally lift it. It was a good computer. And I've worked with it on trains in England, and I've done a lot of things with it, and it never failed me. So, well, yes, good computer. Thumbs up. If you can have one in any collection, it's a valuable addition. The user guide is very comprehensive, and you have all MS-DOS commands and things like that. And, well, it was usual in the days, but still nice. And I still have the original set of diskettes. That's MS-DOS 4.01. It had some so the DOS itself was on 2 disks, that's MS-DOS. This is some Victor specific utilities. This is a MS-DOS shell. That was the first attempt at a user interface that was not entirely text-based, but well, it was not good, and nobody remembers it for good reason. And this was printer drivers. So well. So let's get the thing started and watch how it worked. Before I plug it in, as you can see, the connector for power is very quaint, and it's a 6 pin thingy that you can't really find anywhere else. I've never seen something like that, so well, just go with the flow, but it's uncommon. So let's boot up that baby, shall we, and see what's inside. So first thing you notice is the noise. Those computers were very noisy because for the most part, well, as there were no laptops, truly speaking, before, they used desktop parts, mostly. And they smashed them inside a tiny case, but still, they were mostly desktop parts, so it comes with a penalty in terms of silence. So, as you can notice, the boot is very quick. So, of course, the computer isn't quick by any means in today's terms, but still it had an ace up its sleeve when compared to desktops of the days. In 1988 there were still many computers that were basically PC XT, so using an Intel 8088 microprocessor running at a speed of 4.77 MHz. These computers instead use an 80C86. This C86 was a chip made in a CMOS process, for what I remember, and basically what concerns us is that it runs at 10 MHz instead of 4.77. So it's twice as fast as a PC XT while being absolutely compatible on all other counts. So it's a fast PC for the day. So operating system MS-DOS, of course. And once you're in MS-DOS, what to do? Well, you can type text. So as you can notice, the hard drive is doing, well, I don't know if that's recorded, but the hard drive has a nasty high-pitched noise that's in no way indicating failure, but it's a very high-pitched noise that's barely tolerable, and it has always been like that. So, well, you've got Word, so you can type text the old way, but still works. If you're fond of Microsoft, you can complete your job in Multiplan. If you were not fan of Microsoft in the days, you could go to the competitor. Not any more user-friendly than Multiplan, but a bit more powerful as I remember. I can't remember for the life of me how to use that thing. Well, anyway, so as you see, it's, well, usable. You can always refer to the manuals in case of bad memory. And you add something on this specific computer that was called Data Master, I think. It's a tiny bit Data Master. It's a tiny bit like DBase 4, DBase 3, most probably, considering the time it was issued. So you could create form, record some entries, create some reports, doing whatever you want with the database, create menus and administrate users of the database, and well, most generally do anything that was considered relational and therefore cutting edge in the days. And last but not least, so that's the famous Borland Turbo C, and you can notice again a very cutting edge user interface in text mode. So, well, that brings back memory. It was the first time I dipped my toes in C programming and to help a friend, and yeah, it was alright. Although now that I know better, the fixed types of Turbo C and things like that were not maybe the best in terms of learning C programming. It was not the best, but it did the job on very small machines, so well, it was okay, I suppose. But well, so as you see, a nice, very nice computer with a lot of possibilities and everything you could wish. What would I want more today? I don't know. It could do everything, connect to the networks, it could... So, and it was fast and it was adequate, and you could print and you could send the letters and you could do everything with it. So, a good computer. This said, I know that one of the viewer of this video has been a long time user of this computer, so this is in a way dedicated to him and his viewing pleasure. Have a nice day, bye bye, and catch you next time. So, while we are still a bit on the subject of computer programs, oopsie! It's difficult to see in those days And to imagine simply now that we are in the habit of downloading computer programs and reading documentation out of PDFs on screen, how much care was put in those days into the objects that came with a computer program. And for instance, this is Microsoft Multiplan, and it's the original binder. And as you see, it's very well made, and it's high quality, and the print is glossy, and it's nice, it's perfect, and it's very usable. You have index tabs on to find references and comments, and well, it was very well made, and it was very professional, and the price was very professional too, if I remember well this thing. But there was no stone left unturned in terms of content, and everything was documented. Well, almost everything, because Multiplan had a very nasty protection scheme to make sure it was installed on only one computer at a time, and to transfer this Multiplan onto the Victor proved surprisingly difficult, because it came on 5.25 inches diskettes, and the protection scheme was really problematic to get over, and I had to make some low level edit on the disk just to get out of this problem. But still, that's a thing. And of course, you have the competitor, which is Lotus, and it was also a nice box with very comprehensive books and documentation, and everything you may have wished to know, with quick references and everything. And this I wanted to show you. This is the IBM last DOS revision, and it's 2000 compatible, and it's DOS 7. It's not MS-DOS, it's PC-DOS, and it's made by IBM, and it's well, one of the jewels of my collection, because at this time nobody cared anymore for MS-DOS, and so it's quite a rare box to have, and it's full with documentation, disk, and everything. So that ends the quick tour. I'm not opening the computer itself, because it's a laptop, and it's working, and I don't want to mess with it. So I'm not putting a screwdriver in that thing. Sorry. Catch you next time.